Welcome to the Rusty Nail.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Nick Gammon. I'm Managing Director, family business, and it's been operating since 1925, and I'm third generation and responsible for keeping it going.
Yeah, so really interesting story. Let's go back to the beginning when Trevose first started.
Crikey. Well, it actually, contrary to a lot of people think, my grandfather didn't start Trevose. He came here in 1923-ish on holiday before the course was here. He did know the then owners who were starting to put some sort of properties around, but it was his getaway. He was an engineer, had business in India and Pakistan, but loved Cornwall. Anyway, the story of it is the piece of land was owned by a farmland. It was farmland predominantly, but pretty terrible farmland because it was marsh and tidal. And there was an archaeologist who, through research, Dr. Penrose Williams, believed there was a church on our short course along with a holy well, which was dated back to Roman times. And he wasn't allowed to touch the land unless he purchased it, which he did for, I don't believe, very much money. Anyway, as a result, he did uncover the church, which I think St Enderlock had this storm covered this whole north coast with sand. He did uncover it, but having done that and drained the land, didn't know what to do. And his son was a friend of Harry Colt and got Harry Colt down to build the golf course. And the story goes from there. Basically, it ran out of money fairly quickly because no one had anything back in the days. And they were going to turn it back to apple orchards, I believe. And my grandfather didn't want that happening. So he and his business partner purchased what was then Trevose Links, I think it was called.
Right.
And between my grandfather and his business partner, they ran it for a number of years before his business partner had had enough. Didn't wish to come down any longer, and my grandfather bought him out. And basically handed it over to my father, age 21. Gave him a sort of an option: you move to India and run that business,
right,
or you go to Cornwall and make that work. So rightly, and I'm glad he did. He made the choice of coming to Cornwall.
Yeah.
And sort of he built everything that we have pretty much, and I've sort of evolved it from there.
Yeah.
So, very lucky.
Oh, it's quite an incredible story. And how big's the land? I mean, you've got the championship course, and you have another course. And what's the makeup of those?
We've got it's just over 300 acres actually, a piece of land. So we've got the Championship 18, and in 1990, I think it was, we built a full-length 9 around the outside of it, which back used to be farmed a number of years back, but that's now a full-length 9-hole. Peter Alice designed that back in 1990. There's a par 3 short course which goes around the church, and that's been, I think that's 1960-ish. That was built. So the 3 courses, with the championship course being our main crown in the jewel, and or jewel in the crown. Sorry. We've got some tennis courts, paddle courts, outdoor pool, and a bit of leisure really.
Yeah, and accommodation.
Which
is how much accommodation have you got?
Accommodation, we've got 32 units of different sizes, ranging from sleeping 2 people up to 6 people, all self-contained. Mum and Dad, when they built it a long time ago, did it with the view that not everyone, or back in the 70s, 60s, could afford to go out eating. So everything has its own kitchen, lounge. So it's self-sufficient. So in school holidays, it's full of families who do use it for cooking themselves, as well as dining in the club. Yeah. But outside of that, it's groups of groups of chaps, couples.
So an early UK golf resort, I guess.
Yeah, I believe we were the first resort.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
To have accommodation on site.
Yeah. Amazing.
Which is pretty much, I think, one of the only independents.
Yeah.
In the country, which is nice.
Fantastic. So when people come down and play Trevose, look, we're just coming out of winter now. It looks pretty busy out there, but it's a beautiful day. What can golfers expect when they get out on the course?
This time of year, fast greens, fast fairways. Contrary to sort of inland golf, we tend to remain drier, and because the grass isn't necessarily growing, it's fast, and it frightens a lot of people in March time, because they are, and you get these easterly winds which dry out the course even more. So it can be quite fiery, bit colder, but generally dry. And a good links test, I would say, because the ball doesn't fly as far with the temperatures. You need every club in the bag. And
I know in recent times you've been working with Tom McKenzie, which is great. Well, not in recent times, for quite a time, I think now. What sort of things have you guys been focusing in on with the course?
So Tom's remit, or my remit, Tom, was memorability. I wanted to, because some of the holes, they're all great, and it hasn't changed really in all its life, in length anyway. Were not as memorable as they could be, and we wanted the customer, the golfer, to walk away having remembered all 18 holes and have a little bit of a challenge on every hole. And Tom has very much done that, replacing bunkers, because modern technology took a lot of the bunkers out of play, reshaped a lot of greens and surrounds, and given them much more character.
Right.
And it's been fantastic, actually.
You mentioned something there about challenge. It's always a fine line between giving somebody challenge and too much challenge. But I think that adds to the memorability, and I loved how you said memorability. What are some of the other factors? I know the landscape looks a bit different out there too. I haven't been here for a few years, so what's happened to the landscape?
So we've sort of stripped it back really to its bare essentials in a lot of areas, because there was various areas of scrub, buckthorn that had grown in over just over years and years, and probably bad practices have let them evolve faster than they should have done. So we've stripped a lot of that out, working with English nature actually, which has brought a lot more of the wildlife back as well, which is a good aspect. But at the same time, it makes it more playable in certain areas, because it's not going in brambles, it is now back in sand areas, so you find it, but it doesn't make it easier to play. But visually as well, it has quite an impact, and really does give a lot of holes some real distinction and shape.
And has there been, through the work with Tom and Mackenzie Niebert, was there a lengthening of the course, or was that a priority for you guys? Or
length wasn't a priority, because it's quite long. For back tees, it's 7,100 roughly, which is, we rarely ever play off that, because in links conditions it's just too brutally hard. It's tough. It's hard enough anyway off our men's competition tees. It's 6.6 or nearly 6.7, and that's quite a long course. I know it plays its hardest when there's no wind. Actually, scoring is worse because it is long. So you do need a bit of length, but length was never our a goal. It was more creating a more interesting challenge where it was needed.
And what about going the other way? Has there been forward tees? Has there been tees to get the slower swing speed? Enjoying, and as you say, remembering the golf course.
Yeah, I think that's one of the good changes golf has made with the slope. So we've got in green tees which are considerably further forward. A lot of people would say they're junior tees, but in the old school money, that is. But I think the stigma is slowly changing with colour and association. So we did have a little battle with our ladies section, so we've left their tees as red. But we've got some green tees further forward. So seniors and anyone can play off them, juniors. If you want a friendly round of golf, I mean, it's quite a challenge playing off the forward tees when you think you're one of the great golfers. You should be birdieing all the holes, but you're not. So we've got 5 different sets of tees, which give you many options.
And what's the player profile here? I mean, obviously you have green feet players, you have members. What sort of mix is it normally?
We've got a strong membership, so it's a little over 1,500, and probably more use it now than they used to, who are full local members. Locally, we're probably around 600. That's a ceiling really for us, because we need to make sure there's enough availability for those coming to stay on site, because we'll always prioritise them with a tee time. But country members, obviously, and outside of county members that come down during during the holiday time when it's better. You need to have a nice mix so that it's not full all the time, but it's busy. And COVID is one of the great things from COVID, actually. It has brought a lot of people back to playing more golf than they were pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So it's a good balance. Saturday's obviously the busiest day.
And the your 9-hole course and the shorter course has got a good uptake as well.
We call it our headland course, which is our full length 9. That's got a good strong membership actually of a few hundred, and that's well used because we allow 3 and 4 balls, 2 balls, 1 ball, whatever, any time of the day on that course, which we restrict on the championship course. And it's also a good platform. So we have a par 3 where juniors tend to start and beginners, and once you get to an ability on that side, you then move up onto the headland course. You're not in the public eye, so it's a bit less intimidating, and you can get your first handicap, as it were, on there. So it's a great intermediate course. It's sort of 3,500 yards, so it's got a test. It's got some par 5s, par 3s, and par 4s. So it takes some good pressure off the main course.
That's great. And your family's been such a part of golf in Cornwall for 3 generations.
Yeah.
Now, and the popularity of golf in Cornwall now just seems to be growing and growing. Where do you think it's going to go in the next 10 to 15 years?
Well, as long as progress keeps being made by everyone, not just 1 or 2 clubs, I'm really hopeful that golf is in a good place and will continue to flourish, because there's less of a stigma than there ever used to be. People are becoming far more welcoming, and that barrier seems to have sort of been brought down. And people wearing hoodies, tracksuits, whatever it might be, they're far more accepted now worldwide, as opposed to it being frowned upon, and that helps bring in the younger guy. My kids play golf, and the last thing in the world they want to do is be wearing stiff shirts and uncomfortable clothes to play golf in. They like to come off the course and feel they can go anywhere in what they're wearing, which they do now, and I think that's generally golf. And it is seen as exercise. There's lots of good articles written now that people who play golf, it actually is a positive exercise, and you should keep doing it for as long as possible. So I think golf is in a good place, and I just hope that sort of trend continues. There's no reason why it shouldn't.
And Trevose, you've got you've still got more redesign work to do, or
we've pretty much done all of the course. We finished it this year, so we've just done the 17th green and tee and complex, and the 9th tee complex on top of that. We've got a couple of paths we're going to be doing next year, but we're then going to move on to the headland course and spend a bit more.
Fantastic.
Much to my director's disappointment.
You got to spend money to make money,
exactly.
I guess you got to bring the whole thing up together, don't you?
Exactly. I mean, it helps because I love golf. I really enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about it, and the family are.
Yeah.
And if I can see it needs doing it, and the investment is worthwhile, then I'm quite happy, and I'm keen to drive it. So we'll keep going until.
Exactly. Keep going for sure. With the paths, what have you been doing with the paths?
So traditionally they get worn out. Buggies have been a bit of a. They're great in one way, but not great in another way. And we've been extending, making paths wider, making tees more accessible. and trying to make traffic routes better.
Right.
We put a lot more irrigation in this year to help with that, and it visually makes the golf course better.
And in the flow of the course, you're thinking about obviously vehicular movement around, but also the walkers and how they can get a direct route.
Yeah, wherever possible, that's what we're trying to improve. Certain areas you can't do it just because of the terrain, but that's generally what we're trying to do. And it paths can be pretty ugly as well if they're not looked after. So that's sort of a key part of our strategy is to keep them looking good. Yeah,
exactly. What about some of the key moments around the course? What are some of the key moments?
Key moments, I would say, first and foremost, the first tee is without doubt probably one of the most daunting tees of the country.
I love it.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it, and I think every golf course should start with the most massive wow factor they can.
Yeah,
and you've got it here.
Yeah, we do, and I see, so my office overlooks it, and I see some terrible golf shots from really good golfers because it does have that factor of, oh my goodness, everyone's watching and they've gone silent. So I'd say the first tee is one of them. Without doubt, the fourth green right on the ocean side, it's well photographed, well talked about. That's a key moment that everyone will love.
Yeah.
There are various other. At the 17th that we've finished this year, I think that's going to be a really great green to play into and a tough finish. I mean, it's going to be a very tough 16, 17, 18 finish. Fantastic. So key to your round.
Okay, we're going to go and have a look. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.